One, two, one, two, one, two. Do we have liftoff? This is fantastic. Hi, everyone. Dom Famularo here. And I must say, I am so fortunate that Mapex allows me to have this all access moment on Mondays at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I say 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time because our guest today is out in LA area. So he's 3 hours earlier. So it's 11 o'clock a.m. for him. So this happens with many of the artists that I have, whether they're living anywhere around the world. There's always a time change in what goes on. So we're able to bring these great, great talented people to you and deliver this to you. We've got Tears of December Band has logged on. He's a real Mapex fan. Thanks so much for being with us. And we've got more people logging on. But today, I've got this incredible drummer that I am such a huge fan of. I've heard him play several times on video on the YouTube channel. And I go by and watch this. I'm like blown away by the power that he has and the intensity in each note, and with the sheer skill that it takes to drive a band like Body Count. Would you please welcome Mr. Will Dorsey Jr. Let's bring him in here, man. This is fantastic, Will. Here he is.
Hey. How you doing, Dom?
Will, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks so much for joining me here. This is so great on behalf of Mapex to have you here. And I want to talk about a variety of different things. I want to go back to when you were growing up in the Baltimore area, in the Dennis Chambers owned Baltimore drumming area. Anyone that comes from Baltimore has got to have some kind of experience with Dennis Chambers and what it is. But I want to go back to your early days, and I want to bring it up into what you're doing with Body Count. And then I want to talk about that freaking Grammy that is so unbelievable that you have here. That is a huge accomplishment. So let's go back to the beginning, your early days of when you started playing drums.
Okay. First of all, thanks, Dom, for having me on this. I really am honored to do this with you. This is really cool. Thank you. Starting out, being in Maryland, of course, I was, going to church. Started that way, being in church, and then eventually we started, hanging out with our friends. Like me and my brother were just hanging out with friends, and we started getting into more of the rock music. And then we were heavily influenced by Kiss. So
incredible.
Big fans, of Kiss, back then.
Was it music in your family?
My father was singing, but no one played instruments like me and my brother did. But I think me and him were the first in the family to actually play instruments.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're hearing Kiss, and now you're blown away by just the entertainment value and the intensity of what Kiss was about.
Yeah. It was incredible for us. It was just mind blowing for us because we all, we was listening to like anything that was like on the pop radio back then. So I think we were like very well rounded, with pop, soul, R&B, going with some jazz, but mostly like the Motown stuff that we've been listening to around the house. My mom, that's all she played was a bunch of Motown and gospel records, that we played along to. It was just us and the record player.
So how old were you when you got your first drum set?
Probably about 8 or 9. I was playing on pots and pans, of course. After I beat up that drum set, and my father got his old coffee stuff and mounted it on to the existing drums that were there because we busted through the heads on it. Because me and my brother were both playing drums, and I guess I kind of dominant over the drums from him, and he decided to play bass guitar and guitar, and he knows how to play drums too. But I just took over it. Sorry, Derek. Sorry.
Great. So you're playing with Derek. His name is, right? Your brother?
Yes.
You're playing with Derek. You guys are playing, and you're just playing, bass or guitar and drums, and you're just jamming at that time, right?
Yeah, down in the basement, just playing hours of a day, just trying to be like something like Kiss or whoever, or because after a while we started getting influence with, with the Police as well, but still with that and Prince and man, we were just getting well-rounded and playing at church as well. But the thing I love seeing the most, I wish I was a better singer and trying to be like my father and my uncle. They were both singers.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to be a part of that.
Well, how powerful it is. Tell me more about the church, and the whole, playing in church scene, because there's so many great members that have come out of that scenario. What was that like playing in church? How old were you when you started playing in church?
We're probably like 10, maybe 9, 10,
Wow.
like maybe 12, probably. But I mean, after a while, I guess we wanted something more out of the instruments. And at that time, it's a real traditional church, Methodist church, that we were going to. And I think we wanted more, and I think that's why we started playing rock and roll. It was I don't know. I don't think we disappointed them, but they were trying to get us back to go into church, and we stayed out for a while out from church. And I still love going to church, me personally, but my brother still plays it at church too. So, but it was a good journey for us going through the church phase. And us also, we were playing in our church. We got to play with Tony Braxton back then.
Really?
Yeah, the whole Braxton family. We went to well, their father was the pastor there.
Right.
But we got to actually play with Tony Braxton back then, and I don't know if she remembers us or not. I don't know. So,
well, what a great artist she is. So she lived down in that area. So she went to that church, and did she came up to sing at certain times in church?
Yeah, they sung all the time. The whole family did. But it was just, we only played a few times with them. But then we got out, and then eventually they moved. I don't know where they moved to after that. But we were still playing rock music though. So
how interesting. So I mean, it's so great to have that foundation of the church upbringing. Listen, there's a good chance Body Count will not be playing in the church.
No, not at all.
It's a good chance. It's a good chance Body Count. But I mean, it's amazing to see how you evolve with it. So now you're playing church, you're playing with your brother, and you mentioned Kiss, you mentioned the Police. So that's Peter Criss and Stuart Copeland. Were there any other drumming influences that you were hearing at that time?
Yeah, even before that, we were watching like Jerry Lewis. The Labor Day, like right before Labor Day. Yeah. And I saw Buddy Rich, and after that I was like, okay, I seriously want to play drums. I was like, I want to do that.
Nice.
But Buddy Rich was the man for me, really, the extra push. Like, I want to do that, and I want to play that, and which was jazz. I eventually got into a little bit later, and when I got into high school. It was fun doing that.
Boy, that's so great that you had that desire after hearing Buddy to want to go play. I mean, a lot of drummers say, after I hear Buddy, I wanted to go burn my freaking drumsticks.
Yeah. No doubt.
Same thing with me. When I heard Buddy, there was just something that he did that he kind of pulled you into the art form, and you wanted to play. So, did you get involved with a little bit of jazz at that time?
A little bit later, that was around like we were getting into Kiss and starting to play, emulating the records and whatnot. But then I saw Buddy, and then when I eventually got into high school, I wanted to play jazz. I really wanted to play jazz, but I'm a terrible reader. I'm gonna put that out there right now.
Yeah.
So going through like junior high school, I was struggling with reading music. I had a couple friends, that helped me because I was involved with marching band too in school. And then I got into within the high school, we had a teacher named Phillips that was helping me out with the jazz charts because he was a drummer as well.
Wow.
Big time jazz guy. But he had, like he wanted us to wanted me and my brother to because he was involved in jazz band too. But I was more influenced also getting with the snare drum line, and I was playing tries at the time. Showing my age here with tries, so because I wish I could play quints, back then, but we didn't have quints at all.
Yeah.
But I still have that love for the marching field as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, so I'm sure there are some great skills you learned. So how important was the school music program for you?
Very important. Matter of fact, I remember to this day, a lot of the guys that were in jazz band and they wanted to play football, and I'm a huge football, love playing football, and I was thinking about going to football, and I guess he got upset, and it's like it's either football or the music program, and at that time the music program was going down, and I didn't want to disappoint that. I chose music over me even trying to play football, even though the coach wanted me to play, but I chose music.
Well, we are very fortunate that you did choose music because you're playing your tail off with the band. That's really exciting to see the work of what's happening. So, I mean, a lot of the school music programs are slowly being challenged.
Yeah.
And it's a very difficult time. So here's someone like yourself that the music program really helped you out. And I wish we could get more support back in the school music programs to get more of these future artists on their way. So we're in school now. Are you playing with different bands now at this point? Are you starting to experiment with different musicians?
Yeah. And well, okay. Well, can I back up for a second? So hold on.
Yeah, please. Please.
I got a story about my music teacher, Mr. Butts. He actually known Dennis Chambers.
Uh-oh, trouble.
But he offered me back then that I could get drum lessons with him.
Huge.
And I asked my mom because he lived out in Baltimore. We were in Anne Arundel County, which is like maybe 30 minutes away. And I just got my driver's license. And I asked my mom if I could go get lessons with Dennis Chambers. And she said, "Where does he live?" I'm like, "In Baltimore." She said, "There's no way you're driving up to Baltimore by yourself up there at all." I was like, and that was when he just did that Buddy Rich Memorial. I think in like 89, 90, going around there. And my heart sank. It's like I could have had lessons with Dennis Chambers, but he was the hero of that state, and but eventually after that, I mean, at least I got to go to other things like All County Jazz Band. I made it through that.
Right.
I made it through All State Jazz Band when I was the senior. But the funny thing is, my boy Nate Morton, that's on The Voice, he was also the other drummer for All State Jazz Band. And I didn't know it not until I actually moved out to LA until years later, he found an old cassette tape. He said, "Where did you go to school at?" I was like, "Arundel." And he's like, "You got to be kidding me." He went under another name.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and he was just checking out like who's been out there and who's hasn't done anything. And he kept on looking, and it just said William Dorsey on there. And he's like, "Man, he was the other drummer." But we became friends later on, but we didn't know that, like connect the two at all between, because I worked for him later on. So it was funny.
That is hysterical. So here you are now. So have you met Dennis Chambers?
I did. I had a session with Eddie Kramer. I was in a band called Laughing Colors. We won this contest to record a song with Eddie Kramer, and Lord and behold, here he comes walking in, Dennis Chambers, and I just immediately got nervous. So, but I mean, before that, I saw him at other clinics before, because he brought in Horacio Hernandez at a drum clinic in Baltimore, and that was amazing too. But I never got to just talk to him, and how cool of a guy that he is, and he's just with one stick. I was just blown away. I was like, I'm done. I quit. So I was afraid to play in front of him, with that whole session going on.
He is such an incredible player, but he really is a great guy. And I've known Dennis for many years. We go back a long time, and just he's still influencing everybody in his playing, and he's playing better than ever.
Yes, he is. He is.
So at this point now, so are you? And you mentioned Laughing Colors. Was that one of your first bands that you joined?
One of them. I started making bands when I was in 6th grade. Called the Mad Dogs. Started out from there. Then I joined this other band after that called Deadlock. It's a more like punk rock type of band, and then I did another band with my brother. That was pretty much all with my brother, and I let him go in '95 and joined Laughing Colors. And then I got into this DC band right before Laughing Colors. But I left my brother in '95 to join Laughing Colors, because they were like more of a rock pop type of band, and we were playing forever, and we started writing our own music. And then we were our managers were trying to get us signed at that time, and then 2001 9/11 happened. The very next day we were supposed to go up to New York and talk to RCA. And of course, my manager was like saying, "No, we're going up. But it's like the tower system went down. So there's no way. And so New York just pretty much just closed down at that time. Yeah. And they said, they're not signing anyone at that time. So keep on trying. The band went on after that for a couple more years, and in 2004, I think 2003, I think we were done, and I decided that I wanted to move to LA. Got a good friend that's out in Nashville now named Kevin Murphy. He was in a bunch of Virginia bands, saying that it's like, dude, it's like, if you want to do something, try to get out from the area that you're at. I'm like, what do you mean? I say, either come to Nashville, go to New York, or go to LA. Pick one.
Yeah.
Try to do it, and he pushed me in that way. And I said, you know what? If I go to New York, I would turn around.
Yeah.
Turn around and just go right back home.
Too close, yeah.
Yeah. And that was all in 2006. And I decided I want to go to LA. And I told my ex-girlfriend that I'm going to move. I'm leaving, and I'm going out to LA, and I went out to LA, and here I am.
Well, that's a surefire way to get an ex-girlfriend. Telling you leave. That's, that was a real smooth move on your part, Will. That was so you leave, you go out to LA. So how old are you now going out to LA? Are you there? I lost you. I can't hear you. 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Let's see if we can bring you back in here. This is the fantastic essence of technology here. Let's see if we can
Yeah,
bring Will.
sorry about that.
Are you back in?
Yeah, I'm back in. I'm sorry.
All right.
Sorry about that.
So you had been playing with, so Laughing Colors was happening in the Baltimore area, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What about Dead End Amelia? Where was that?
Okay. That was in 2009.
Was that in Baltimore?
No, this is in LA.
So you move out to LA now. You make the move to LA. Did you know anybody out in LA?
A couple of people. I knew a producer named Mitch Allen out here. Only saw him once. But at that time I was working at Guitar Center.
Okay.
And that's how I started meeting people. But I was at Guitar Center in Maryland first in 2004 when I started at Guitar Center.
You made the transfer from Guitar Center. Oh, I see that. Smart. Very smart.
Yeah. So I made sure I had a solid job first, and from moving from Maryland to LA and making sure I could have a job out in California. And I decided to go to Sherman Oaks store out that way. And that's when I met a whole bunch of people, started hanging out with them, and trying to see where I could go. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of interesting. So you make the move out there. You're out there. So you find a place to live. You're getting settled in. You know a couple of people out there, but you're really taking this takes a lot of courage to make that kind of a move, to go out there and believe in your dream and your passion and going for it.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people there was some people that is like, man, that's absolutely insane. Yeah. It's like, you're going to come back.
Yeah.
You're going to come back. You're not going to do it. I'm like, man, trust me. I'm going to try to get something. Yeah. I'm going to do something. And trying to have that heart, trying to see my passion in trying to get into something. I want to get into something. I'll find something out there. So
that's great. So you make the move out there. Did you have any family at that time? Were you alone?
When I first moved out to California, is that what you mean?
Yeah, when you first moved to California.
Yeah, I didn't have any family. I don't have any family. I didn't have any family at that time out here at all. It was only a few people that I known out here in California.
So I want people to understand that when you're that committed to playing music and having that level of dedication where you really want to go out there and you really want to play and give your all, you made the commitment, you made the move, and you made the change of lifestyle to go out there and be out there in California. That's a pretty powerful compliment. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you get out there now. So what was the first band you started joining up with?
I joined a band called Blacksmith out there. I did a couple cover bands here and there.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I don't remember their names of those bands. But I mean, I did, a whole bunch of covers, and someone found me at Guitar Center, named Johnny B, asked me if I knew how to play rock music. I'm like, man, that's my whole get down. I love rock music. And decided to go into this rock band, auditioned for that band, and they said I was in. And then we did a TV show called Bulldog Battle of the Bands in out in Canada. We got down to like the finals of that show. Unfortunately, we didn't win. It's all good. But had some great musicians up in that band, very talented guys in that band, and they're still going on right now. Because of the middle of that, I decided to join Dead and Amelia. So and met a producer named Dean DeChelso and Krista Lee, and started with those guys and loved that band too. They were playing rock, and there was more, doing more original stuff, more kind of on that Deftones type of style. Wow. Which I love. I love Deftones. And we're trying to make our own thing, and they're still, doing stuff today. Even though I'm doing body count, I'm still, playing drums for them still, whenever, we do have a gig or whatever. And I do the same with Laughing Colors as well.
Well, that's so great to see you that active in what's happening. So who were your influences? We talked about Peter Criss and Stuart Copeland. Were there other influences that you were listening to that was kind of shaping you at this time?
Anton Fig was a huge influence, and I didn't know that he was playing on Ace Frehley Solo's record. And I had the chance to talk to him because we did we got nominated in 2018, and I got to tell him that. Thank you for starting me out on that. The next person, besides Anton was definitely Prince, Sheila E.
Yeah.
Because that's where I learned my pocket from. The powerful pocket, especially listening to Prince records, going that way. And then I started getting into heavier stuff, and I started listening to Tommy Aldridge from Whitesnake.
Woo!
Yeah. And I heard him first before Whitesnake. It was him playing in Ozzy, and he did that drum solo on that live record. And I was blown away. I never heard double bass like that until a little bit later. I saw you in Annapolis, Maryland.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And that blew my mind. And I was just in awe with your feet, so and all the technique that you were doing, I was just blown away at your clinic. Then after that,
you paid attention because your feet now are freaking killer, man.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm trying.
You really are.
I'm trying. And after that was I started getting back into some other stuff. I started listening to Will Calhoun from Living Color.
Yeah, Will's great.
Yeah. Fish from Fishbone.
Yeah.
I started getting to Bad Brains at that time. And then Pantera comes around. And I was just like, what? So it's just everything that that was coming out my way. I was just trying to soak it in because I wanted to learn their style, and try to get that in me, and have all of these different people in me, going that way. But I forgot to say, I had a drum instructor named Greg Phillips, out of Annapolis as well, and he played like Billy Cobham as well. Nice. And I loved that. He was in a band too, named Starpoint, from Maryland, but his solos are ridiculous too, and he still plays that way. So I guess for him, when he was going in high school, because he went to the same high school that I did, and it was just like it was between him and Dennis Chambers, from his era. But I mean, I got a lot of lessons with him. Then it was, I started listening to the drummer for Helmet. Just listening to, like I said, listen to all these guys get into it. But the root of it all, I was still listening to Motown as well.
Wow.
Motown was it in our family, and I remember seeing my mom dancing around a coffee table. Still remember that, and just listen to just it. And I think what it was, I think my father said this: whatever's is on the radio, try to play it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice.
Yeah. Great advice.
Yeah. That's going to open you up to a versatility, mentality that's going to allow you to be influenced by different players. But you also, I kind of hear like Vinny Colaiuta and Weckl inside of you too when you're playing.
You're absolutely right.
Really? No, I hear that level of jazz fusion in your playing too while you're playing, the rock that you're doing.
Oh wow. Okay. I totally forgot because I'm brain farting right now. But Dave Weckl was a huge influence on me. And of course, I think at the memorial, watching Greg Bassinet, Louis Belson.
Wow.
I have a story on him too.
Yes.
I'll get to you on that.
Yeah.
And Vinny Colaiuta, Steve Gadd. I was influenced with all of that, especially Marvin Smitty Smith.
Great player.
Yeah, and Steve Smith. I mean, I was just blown away by that genre of all those guys like that. I just kept on watching those videotapes, over and over and over again. But you're absolutely right with Dave Weckl. And with Vinny, yeah,
absolutely. Now, Louis Belson was a dear friend. What's your Louis Belson story?
Okay, so 2007, I'm drum manager of Guitar Center over in Sherman Oaks. Yeah. He starts walking up the steps up there, and my mouth just dropped. All the employees were like around me. And I hugged him. I was like, thank you, for sharing your gift to us. Yeah. And he's like, oh, thank you for even know who I am, but what messed me up, the other guys that I was working with, I was like, who's and I thought this was not disrespectful, but it's like, who's the old guy that you were hugging?
Yeah. I
was like, are you kidding me? I was like, because we have all these, pictures of all the great artists that are, play drums, just to learn, you need to learn all these about all these drummers that we had up on our wall. I was like, go down the stairs and you look up the name Louis Belson. Yeah. Pretty much all the guys went down there and looked at him. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, that was him. Like, I wanted to, like, I was so happy that I got to give him a hug, before he passed, and tell him thank you, for giving us what he gave us, but I just want just to tell him that I appreciate you. So
that's so deep of you, because Louis was just an absolute prince of a person. He was such a gentleman and such a kind person and such a humble person. This is a guy that played, tunes like Skin Deep with Duke Ellington. This guy, Sinatra, you name it, this guy did it all.
Yeah.
And I met Louis back in 1971. I knew Louis for many, many years, and we had I've been at his house. I've had dinner with him, and he always just impressed me. Just a kind gentleman. But here's a guy that really kind of pushed the double bass mentality. And many years ago, when he had two bass drums, they all told him, he said, hey, listen, that two bass drum thing is never going to last. And he kind of laughed, and he made it happen. And here we are still paying tribute to him with the double pedal and two Mations and doing our thing with him. So it's just fantastic.
Sorry about that. Hold on. Sorry about that.
Here we are. You're back in there.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Let's do a question here. We've got a question here from Carlos Crispin, who's a wonderful drummer in the Miami area. He also is a great player. He's also a drum tech, and he techs for the Bee Gees mystifying tour. He does this whole thing, just so incredible. He's done drum teching for Jerry Brown and Russ Miller and Max Weinberg, and he's all these great players. So he said, Will, for the up and coming drummers that are listening today, is there anything in your career direction that you would have changed knowing what you know now? Great question. Thank you. Fantastic.
Yes, that's a very good question. I'm going to be the first person to say this, and this is the big mistake that I've done, which is not – I should have paid attention more about learning how to read. I feel like reading is essential to every drummer's thing. I know Dennis doesn't read either.
Yeah.
But if I could change back time, and I'm a drum tech too, and I haven't told you about that yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just teching for Josh Freeze,
Nice.
for the Offspring, and he charted out everything. Him and another good friend of mine, Randy, which is as essential for their careers, being studio drummers, being like that and being called so many times to do session work. And I wish I learned how to actually write and read music better.
Yeah. It's reading music, and I teach many students, and reading music is not that difficult to learn once you're playing. Sometimes you have to take one step back to take two huge steps forward.
Yeah.
And the advantages of reading music is that not only can you write out a chart what you're doing, but when you hear something, when you hear some music, you can kind of see it written out in your head while you're listening to it. So it allows you to retain the music faster and learn it faster. And guys like Kenny Arnoff, who he charts out everything.
Yeah.
Kenny has filing cabinets of arrangements with different bands that he charts out and saves all of those charts. And it really kind of is a very, very incredible idea of being able to have information like that. So, but that's great advice for some young players.
Yeah. That's what I would do.
Incredible. Now talk about body count. I mean, Here you are now. You join them. You make the connection. How'd you finally join up with the band?
Okay, so 2009, I was drum teching. Wow, drum teching for Dave Stewart, and I got a call from a good friend of mine that worked at a place called Amp Rehearsal in North Hollywood, and because he knew that I played that type of music.
Yeah.
But he called me up and he said, "Hey man, guy named Richie." And he said, "Hey man," I was like, "I think you need to call this person back. And I think this is going to change your life." I'm like, "Really?" I said, "What's this guy's name?" And he's like, which ended up being my bass player, Vince. And I go talk to him, and I told him that I was teching. He's like, "I don't care if you're teching. It's like, come to the rehearsal spot after you finish teching." I'm like, "All right." And this was the audition. And before that, he tells me, I was like, "Yeah, this band is finally getting back together." I'm like, "So what's the name of the band?" And I said stupidly, after he said this, he's like, "Yeah, you're auditioning for Body Count." I'm like, "Ice-T's old band?" yeah, I shouldn't have even said that. He's like, yeah, Ice-T's band. I'm like, okay, cool. Finally, finish what I'm doing with the drum checking thing with them, and got lost getting to the for the audition. Started playing some older. I was like, because I only remembered the first album from Body Count.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember. And I started playing a couple of the tunes that was from that album, and just like, hey, great job. We'll talk. And then I got a call back, and after that, it's like, okay, we made our decision. We want you to drive this band. I'm like, really? And Eddie wanted to freak out then and there. But after I started packing my stuff back out in my car, and I freaked out. I was jumping up and down. That I was like, yes, yes. So I was super stoked to join them.
Now, who was at the rehearsal at the audition?
At the audition, it was only Vince and older guitarist named Bendrix. That was the other guitarist that was in the band at that time. Right. But that was the only two that were in there. But after this whole thing was for, I think it was a 30-year Vans thing, anniversary. Warped Tour thing, yeah. And 50th anniversary for them. And I remember the first time when I met Ice, and where we started rehearsing already, and we all stopped because Ice is about to come into the building, and this is at Nate's, and he's all the way in the back, and I'm sitting at the drums, and it's like I can hear him yelling. It's like, man, this drummer better not suck. You better not be wasting my time. And I'm starting to sweat, like I'm sweating now. My hands are all sweaty. I was like, oh man, come on, and he comes up and he's like, say, hey man, it's like, that's like, what's your name? And I'm like, Will. I say, what's going to be your stage name? He's like, I don't have one. I was like, you know what? Hold on. Let me think about this. Hold on. So thought about it for a little bit. Your new name is Ill Will now. I'm like, Ill all right. Yeah.
So what's it like now? Talking to Ice. How's the relationship been?
Dude, he is the coolest guy. He's just like you and I. Just talking. Man, he's just a regular person. He's just cool. That's it. That is the cool guy. So
what a beautiful thing. Well, the band is so powerful, and you drive it. Listen, you are driving that. You are right up Ice's ass when you're playing. You are driving, pushing that band. It's just so great, and that's where you got the Grammy for Body Count for the best metal performance, right?
Yes, it is.
Talk about that now. Hey, I mean, getting the Grammy, that's huge.
Yeah, that is a huge compliment. I'm gonna tell you straight up what happened that day for the Grammys. When they finally had it, and it was foolish of me because because we got not burned, because I love Mastodon. When they won the last time when we all got nominated for Body Count, it was between us, Meshuggah, and Mastodon, and I didn't bother watching the Grammys. It was the pre-Grammys, but I didn't. It was all online. I didn't bother watching it, and I was just busy in the house, and I noticed that my phone was just blowing up, and like a lot of my friends would say, you guys won. I'm like, man, nuh-uh. We didn't win. And then I went on the official page of, the Grammys, and it said winners, for, best metal performance. And my wife was in the shower. And I knocked on the door panically. And I was like, you gotta come out. You gotta come out. And she came out, had the robe on and everything. And I hope she don't get mad at me when I say this.
That's right. She's gonna hear this. This is going live on Facebook and YouTube, so she'll hear it at some point. She's in the shower. She comes out. Thank God she put a robe on.
Right.
What happened when she came out?
But I told her that I won. And I just gave her the biggest hug, because she's been the biggest supporter of me from the get-go since I met her. And immediately we both started crying. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Nice.
I was pretty emotional.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
absolutely beautiful. As everyone should be when they have that kind of recognition. You put hard work into it. The band is out there touring, and from what I understand, you already had your first date that you had just a couple like last month, right?
Yeah.
After COVID, how was that like to get that back out on the road?
It was great. We were in Wisconsin. That was the first show, and then we just this past weekend, Dansville, Virginia. We played with Lamb of God and Megadeth and Hatebreed, and that was a great experience too. And
you got to meet Chris Adler, Lamb of God's Chris Adler?
He wasn't playing. It was Art that was playing for Chris.
Oh, really?
I don't know that whole situation yet. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
So,
how amazing!
But, yeah.
So you did the gigs. So you have other gigs coming up?
Yeah, next week in Chicago for Riot Fest, and then we have another show in October. But that should be fun, and that's going to be our last one for this year, in October.
Yeah.
I don't know what the plans are yet for next year. Hopefully we might try to do another record. I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let me bring another question up here. I want to bring up a question from Scott Pistol Crockett, a phenomenal drummer, dear old friend, and a great guy. He says, what style of playing would you consider your forte? What's your core of what you do, Will? Thank you, Scott.
Wow. Great question. I love it. It's rock pop. I like doing things that has a pocket. It could be R&B, hip hop. I don't know what but really, rock is. I'm just gonna say it. Rock is my forte.
Yeah. Nice. There you have behind you. You've got some drums back there. What Mapex drums do you have? You joined Mapex about 2014, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. And Mr. Hibbs,
the great late Joe Hibbs, right?
Yes, rest in peace. He was the first guy to really believe in me, to go with his company, with Mapex. This is the Saturn IV series on this one. I'm about to get the Evolutions kit.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. And this snare drum is the Persuader, the new one.
Yeah. Show them a little closer. Let me see that a little closer. That's a killer snare drum.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful drum. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That is a loud, powerful drum.
Yeah.
Wow. So, and the Evolution. So the Saturn IV is kind of a walnut maple combination, and the I lost your volume again, Will. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Hang on a second. Come back in again. 1, 2. Bring it back in. Come on, Will. Bring it back in. Come on. Wind it down.
All right. Here we go.
Are you there?
Yeah.
There. All right. Good.
I'm coming there. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Let's see. So the new kit is going to be my toms. My rack toms are going to be birch, walnut. My floor toms and my kicks are going to be maple, walnut. So I'm excited. I I can't wait till they come. So but yeah, I'm ready for that bad boy to get here, because I saw him at NAMM. I fell in love.
Yeah, that NAMM drum set that was there, it was so great. I was performing at Drumeo after NAMM, so they shipped that drum set up to Drumeo, and then after Drumeo, they sent me that kit. So that kit is the kit right back here that you saw at NAMM. I got that kit, and it just sounds so incredible. I mean, it's just Mapex is such a smart company with great minds behind it. They've got great innovative ideas, and they know how to bring great artists in like yourself.
Thank you. Going back to Joe Hibbs, I want to tell this story too. I have to say this story. So I was recording the first album with Body Count in 2013. Finally, we were finally coming back out with their new album for Manslaughter. And I remember talking to Joe. He's like, "How come you haven't sent me the paperwork yet? What are you waiting on? What are you doing?" I'm like, I'm gonna sign him right now. But also that another push, when I saw him at and I still haven't signed it. I saw him at NAMM that year of 2014, and Matt Halpern, good friend of mine, he brings me over to Joe. That was the first time I met Joe, and shook hands. He gave me this really good grip handshake, which I love, by the way. Good, gotta give a good handshake. But he was like, "Where's your paperwork?" I was like, fail.
Joe was like that. Joe was an amazing person. Joe would call me literally every day, 7 days a week at 6 a.m. Every morning, he knew I was up. He'd call me. We would talk for a while every morning about the industry, about ideas, about young players. And I remember talking about you and about what you were doing. And, Joe just had an incredible way of being able to find young talent like yourself and then stay on you. So you joined in. And now, unfortunately, Joe is no longer with us, but his spirit and his memory still continues.
Yes, it will.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you something, Will. It is so great to have you join us here with Mapex. Mapex is wonderfully honored and happy to have you with them. You're out there playing, doing some great things. You are hitting it hard with the band, man. I always say it's kind of like a rap, metal, rock, pop. There's a lot of. It's hard to classify what you're doing, but it's just intense and it's in your face.
Thank you.
I love coming from New York. That in-your-face kind of playing is just so exciting. So thank you so much.
Thank you. That's that East Coast style. You know what I mean?
It really is. It really is. It's in your face. And if you have any plans of coming out to the East Coast here playing, you make sure you track me down. I want to come down and hear you live in person.
Oh man, it'd be a pleasure to see you. And finally get to meet you again. So that'd be great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Will Dorsey Jr. with Body Count. This is so incredible that you're still doing it. Coming from LA, fantastic Mapex drums. We'll touch base soon. Will, stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you in our travels, all right?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye, guys.